Hello and welcome back to the Quantum Leap Podcast. I'm Albie, and today I'm so excited to have Edward Gelhaus with us. You might remember him as Stuart, the biker from this week's episode. How you doing, Ed? Can I call you Ed?
I'm
Eddie?
fantastic.
Edward? I don't know. You're kind of big. I don't want to upset you.
No, they call me all of the above. Eddie, Edward. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited that you are joining us this week. The show host and I all together, we were like commenting about the episode, and we just loved your part. It's not the biggest part in the episode, but it's an important part of the episode, and you in it, you kind of stole all the scenes you were in, both like dramatically in the one scene about the going on the biker ride, and then the final like culmination of the episode. So I want to talk all about that, but first I want to get to know you. So can you tell me a little bit about how you got started in acting and what made you want to be an actor?
Well, for sure. Yeah, I'm actually from a small town of 900 people in Wisconsin. So I was always into acting ever since I was young. I actually went to school for, randomly, even though I don't play these type of characters, musical theater. And I did a whole bunch of touring shows in musical theater. I did the Vegas circuit for a while. I got to train with some amazing people at Cirque du Soleil, and then I came out to LA and decided to switch into the TV and film industry. And you kind of, when you're in a career of being in the arts, you kind of grab and pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot, and you kind of just keep on going. So I'm very, very fortunate to be where I am today.
You did. You mentioned Vegas. You did some cruise ship stuff too, right?
Yeah, I worked for Royal Caribbean for 2 years. Probably one of the funnest gigs of my life. I mean, when you get paid to basically see the world, I did Italy, Greece, Egypt, Croatia, and Turkey for a year. I did the Caribbean for a year. I mean, you're just paid to basically be on vacation. You do 4 shows a week, and besides that, you're a guest. So
wow.
It wasn't the worst time ever in life, and I can see why people stay in that line of business.
Did you ever wake up while you're doing that and have no idea on the globe where you were, like just for a little bit?
100%. It was kind of when you're over in the Mediterranean and it was a 14-day cruise, you kind of lost track of time because you're there for so long, and you're like, oh, we're in Egypt again. And they're like, are you going to go to the pyramids? You're like, no. And then you're like, why am I saying no to going to the pyramids again? It's like, and now you look years later and you're like, why didn't I go every time?
Yeah. I only went on one cruise, but that was my favorite part, the shows. I love theater, musical theater. And
Royal does a really good job. They've actually even upped their level. They're doing live, like full-blown musicals now. They have it's all equity musicals on their major ships. They've really got top-notch performers. A lot of Broadway performers bounce back and forth. So I think that would be, I'd never been on a cruise ship before I got hired for one. So I went there and I did not know what to expect whatsoever. And their theaters are amazing. Their productions are amazing. They just do a really nice job.
Being a strong, muscular, tough-looking guy, do you get typecast a lot? I noticed you play a lot of cops, criminals, things like that.
Yeah.
Bikers.
It's kind of interesting. It's like the realm of TV and film acting. It's not who you think you are. It's who everybody else kind of views you as. So I guess people don't view me in a very nice way most of the time. But I was actually happy in this, and as Biker Stuart Johnson in this, he's not a bad guy, which is fantastic. I've played a lot of very, very vicious characters on TV and film, and it's nice to kind of now abridge that. And even though I look stereotypical, like I would be very cruel in this one, as people have seen, it's a whole different side of him. So it's kind of a beautiful thing to be able to dive in that. But yes, I have been in those categories. So you kind of keep on. I can't complain because I'm working. I said if work is work, and I'll keep it going. And until everybody knows who I am, I'm not going to worry about being typecast. And then I can just hopefully ask to move out of that ranking.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's possible. I don't know if you saw Knock at the Cabin Door, but Dave Bautista played a part that was totally had nothing to do with his size or muscles.
His acting is phenomenal. And I think that's the big thing. I think nowadays the industry is completely changing, and they're actually seeing the artistic approach. And so nobody wants to have these stereotypes anymore from everything from all the way around within the industry. So I think it's kind of a beautiful thing that they're allowing the art more out there. So, I mean, his performance is just in general. He's such a talented actor.
Quantum Leap is really good about doing that. They don't stereotype people, and they do what seems like a lot of blind casting, which is awesome, and they respect
Yeah.
people's backgrounds and different cultures and stuff. And what was great about your character in this episode is at first you think he's just like one of many clients that Ben has at the time, but then it's a continuing storyline all through the episode, and you get to know your character more, and you need your bike back because they're not giving you your bike back. You sleep there all night. And it just seems like, oh, okay, this guy's a biker guy, but he's a nice biker guy, so that's good. So he's not a bad guy. But then when you get to that scene, it's an exterior, and you're talking to Ben about your character's uncle who died of AIDS and all that stuff. Can you talk me through that? Because it was for a very short scene, it was very emotional and yet entertaining and good all at the same time.
Yeah. I think the beautiful thing about Quantum is, number one, you have a show that has been such a success for so many years, and now they're bringing it back. And with that, the stress of probably having to write for that show has to be exponentially like insane beyond belief. And I think our writer was a guy named Rami Lore. So if I pronounced your name wrong, I apologize. But I thought he did a really nice job at, as Ray bounced back in time, or Ben bounced back in time. I mean, there's so many significant things happening in history, and to try to showcase that, because we know we bounced back into the 80s, and in the 80s there was a big AIDS pandemic, and that affected so many people. And I thought he did a very nice job at making it significant enough that it showcased it a little bit, but not also making the whole thing about that. It brought a kind of like a beautiful, like authentic feel of actually what people were going through in that moment for a split second. And I hope it turned out exactly how we were intending. And the director, Kristen, did a great job at making that work beautiful.
It did really come through across really good, because in that moment you could see your characters like pain about losing their uncle and like wanting to do something. And that's why it was so important to get the bike back. So
yeah. And I think that's the thing, because
really
the character kept on bouncing back in, and first you're like, who's this annoying guy? That was the kind of a joke. He's like, and I'm here again. And you're like, who is this guy? And Ben and I were laughed about that, because I was like, every corner I was just waiting. Mm-hmm. But it brought a humanity to it. And I think right now, especially, they do such a good job on the show. I think in just the concept of the show alone, it kind of him jumping back into the bodies of basically any type of person. It showcases the humanity and how we're all the same, and how we all kind of go through exact difficult situations in life. Doesn't matter your ethnicity, doesn't matter your sexuality, doesn't matter anything. He bounces back into every type of person to show that we can all identify with every single type of person. I think that's the beauty of the show going on right now.
Yeah. So you were peppered in the episode a lot. Were you there for the whole 8-day shoot, or how many days did you do on this?
Well, it's kind of funny. We shot before Christmas. So we were, and then after, back in January. So it was the shoot itself. I'm trying to think how many days it was. Yeah, I was there the whole 8-day shoot, but it was actually over like, I think 3 weeks, because there's a hiatus over the holiday.
Oh, okay.
Which is, yeah. And it's always interesting, because you get nervous with COVID going around and all the regulations. The last thing you want to do is I mean, everybody's, as it goes around again and again, that's like the worst fear. As an actor now, not only have to, first you get the audition, you're like, yay. Then you book the audition, you're like, yay. Then you film it, you're like, yay. They're like, don't catch COVID or you're going to lose it. You're like, oh.
Do they tell you things like, you got 3 weeks to get back, don't go skiing, don't get injured, don't,
Yeah, they've got a really good SAG, and every production has a really good health monitor system, and they're all very thorough, and they're all very they're all very nice as well. I mean, that's the thing. We're all in it kind of together, and it makes all the actors feel better knowing that it's such a safe environment as well. They really go above and beyond, and I know it's probably costing them a ton. But yeah, they do give you the whole, just like in a nice way. It's like, okay, guys, realize if you get sick, we're screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be difficult. They'd have to do a lot of reshoots. What was the group like? The set feeling? How did they embrace you on this show?
I tell you what, I've been like very fortunate to be on a lot of shows recently within the last couple of years, and I've actually told my wife this as well. I walked from the first day. And I know, and I've had a lot of amazing experiences on set. And I might say this every time I'm done with one, but when I met Ray for the first time, I understood immediately. If you ever get to meet him in real life, or if you haven't, you probably interviewed him. He's got such a beautiful, genuine quality to him that in 2 seconds, it makes you feel like you've known him your entire life. And him being the lead of that show, it kind of transcends all the way around. So immediately walking onto set, his inviting way, you're like, this is. I actually said, I'm like, oh man, if I could be on this show permanently, I said, how do I fly back in time and make this happen? But it was such a warm and inviting set, and when that happens, I think it allows us to just have number one, we all have fun, and I mean, and that's what we should be doing, because we have this opportunity to touch so many people with our stories and get out there in the world and be this entertainment factor. But for us to go there and have fun and enjoy it doing and create a bond, the set was incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wanted to ask you a little bit, because your character is riding on a motorcycle with Ben riding behind you. What was the technical steps through that? Because I know sometimes actors can't. I don't know if that's considered a stunt. The little bit of motorcycle riding to the stop or whatever. Could you just explain that whole day and how that worked?
Well, it's kind of funny, yeah. So that would be considered a stunt, and as regulations have gotten more and more because of safety. So when he actually rode in, it was a double on me, and as soon as they popped up, we swapped it over. I like to say, in everything people have seen me, and I've done about 92% of everything. I like to try to do everything myself, but on a few of those things, him taking around the corner, you have a wipeout, you take out the main actor for the rest of how long, and they can't allow that chance. But they had a great team, and their coordinator there is incredible. They did a really, really, really nice job at that as well.
I wasn't sure, because the stunt person was a great match, because I watched that a couple times and I wasn't sure, so that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you remember the stunt person's name at all?
Off the top, he was just in for a second, because usually I will say I usually have the same stunt guy wherever I go. I have the guy that comes with me, but this time it was an older guy. I'd have to ask Jeff what his name was, because I only met him real quickly. My normal stunt guy's name is Patrick Million. So if anybody ever sees him, he's incredible.
Do you have a picture with him on your IMDb? Kind of looks like you almost.
Yeah. He's been with me on about, I think, 5. I always request whenever I'm on there. He's brilliant, and I know he does Scott Eastwood. He does a bunch of people, but he's just one of those guys. Number one, he knows that I like to do everything, so he always laughs. He goes, I just come here and I just kind of sit here the whole day and just tell you what you're doing wrong. But he's such a talented guy. And when you find people you like to work with, I can see why, even within directors and writers and all these people, when you find great people, you just want to keep them around you. But the coordinator there already had somebody picked out with a motorcycle. So by that time, he was like, oh, yeah, I know Patrick. And that's how it kind of goes within the industry.
It made for a funny visual, I think, just seeing Ben in a dress on the motorcycle. So that was funny.
100%.
And then we get to the part in the episode where Ray's character Ben and you are kind of like detectives and trying to find evidence and help solve the case. And that part was fun also, because it showed a different side of you. Because I think that one of the funniest lines in the whole thing is when you're holding the bag with the gun in it and you're like, is that a bad thing or something? So tell me all about that day. Was that a set? Were you on location? It looked like a real basement, so I don't know.
It was it was technically a real basement. I think we were on the Universal backlot. So we were in one of those sections, but yeah, I think it was definitely kind of funny, because number one, talking about a gun with my character who looks like he's this big, bad, mean mother. But then he comes across so almost innocent, is that a bad, it just kind of gave it a beautiful comic approach, which, and Ray did such a good job with that too. He was running around in heels. So, that was very impressive in general.
Yeah. I think the great part about Quantum Leap is the good parts. You could always picture like a spin-off series, so, like him in heels and you riding him around on a motorcycle, just solving crimes every week, you know? And
that was our joke when we were there too. There was a comedy sketch that they used to do back in the day with two guys And we're like, we are those guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Being on Quantum Leap is you've been on other like network TV shows like Agents of Shield.
Yes.
When you start off and you're doing the drama program and you're going to school for acting, and you think, wow, I want to make it. I think I can do it. I have the drive. I have the determination. But, so many people want to do it, but very few people are lucky enough to actually do it for a career. So like when you're on Agents of Shield, is there that moment that like, I'm working for Marvel, I think I made it. I think I'm doing good. Do you have that feeling?
Well, it's funny because who else did I hear just kind of talk about this? It was Colin Farrell just said, it never feels like you made it. You know what I mean? Because there's always something more that you're working for. And it's kind of that thing is we have to learn to enjoy the journey because the journey is never ending. Because once you hit a point, you're just on another journey. The beautiful thing kind of in the actor's realm is I've been out in LA just a little over a decade. And when you get out here, I had no idea. Number one, I was going to go into TV and film. I thought I was going to do musical theater my whole life. And then I sang too many shows and now my voice is all raspy and all this. But I came together with a group of actors and we had like 8 of us that had like an accountability group. We had no agents. We didn't know anything. It's funny that you brought up Agents of Shield. So the guy who plays Ghost Rider on the Agents of Shield, his name is Gabriel Luna. He's also in The Last of Us on HBO right now. He's also, he was the last Terminator. Well, Gabe and his wife, Miranda, were in my little group of people getting together. Now, Gabe came from Austin and he had, Robert Rodriguez had given us a film, but we had all started off before we had anything. And so what the beautiful thing is how you know it's working is you watch the people around you and you get to see so many different paths. And then you realize the path you're on and you're like, I would never imagine I'd be sitting here today. I'm from a town of 900 in Wisconsin. I say half Amish and half cows. There's horse and buggies. My dad is a dentist, but he had a hitching post outside for all the horses. I mean,
oh my goodness.
So I think the biggest thing is if you work hard and no matter what, anybody can do it, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work reading scripts every day because it's probably in the same realm of somebody who's really good at baseball wanting to be a Major League Baseball player. There's so many actors. So, like I said, it's like you do have that epiphany as you start looking over and you start looking at all the different people you've worked with. I mean, I've gotten chances to be on screen with people like Daniel Craig and I mean, even Gabriel Luna now. And then who else? I did Terminalist with Chris Pratt, one of the nicest guys ever in life.
Wow. Yeah.
And I did The Punisher. I worked with John Bernthal as well. And it's like you work with all these guys. And the one beautiful thing you realize is we're all just people. You know, we're all the same. Everybody's the same. Ray, just everybody is. We're all on journeys and we're just fortunate to be doing what we're doing. But it is kind of nice because you watch, I mean, as you get to do different things. I just did I did this show called Narco Saints. And one of the lead actors from Squid Game, and I got to be in the scenes with him.
Oh, wow.
And it's in it. It's a Korean series on Netflix. But again, as you realize all over the world, entertainment's there. People need this, and the world is I call it a beautiful chaos at all times. And we're fortunate enough to make people feel. Now, my characters are usually ones making the people feel like, but in this one, not so much. I'm happy you said you got to laugh because this is the first time in my career on TV and film that I'm finally getting to kind of showcase even that side of me, you know? So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I'm very, very, very fortunate for the people in my life.
Well, parts of this should make your demo reel because it really did show different dynamics of what you can do. And we just really enjoyed it on our end as viewers.
Oh, I love to hear that because I like I said, I told you, it's you've gotten to see it. It comes out on Monday for me. I haven't seen the final product. I will say this: the director, Kristen Wendell is her last name. She was phenomenal. I mean, I've had the pleasure of now working with a lot of, actually recently, just a bunch of amazingly strong female directors. But Kristen's direction, she's one of those directors that walks up to you and lets you kind of just do your thing and whispers little sweet nothings into your ear whenever she wants something different. One of the sweet nothings was, and I'm glad it turned out, was the uncle part. She walked up and she goes, "Hey, I wonder what this would look like if it was a little bit different and it was a little bit maybe just a little bit emotional." And so I'm happy it turned out. But that's her vision and the writer and all of that coming together. So I mean, when you act, and the funny thing is, when you watch acting on film, I always say I can't critique any actor. Why? Because number one, even in this interview, there's editing, there's music. There's so many aspects that go into it. We don't even know how it's going to come out until we see it. We're like, oh, yay, that looks good. So it's kind of a beautiful.
It's funny because it's only a 2-minute scene, but I got emotional just for that one little part because I was like, oh my goodness, this person lost his uncle and it means so much to him to do this for him. And just that little moment. And Quantum Leap has all these different things. It's fun, adventure, science, comedy,
everything.
Holding up the bag with the gun, and the emotion. That's like instant. So great job by you.
And you
great
think
job
of that,
by everybody.
Think of the writing on that. To be able to have every single bit and aspect like that. To have people feel, because, and that's the beautiful thing, is not to ever tell people what to feel, but to allow them to feel something. And you can have that, and then 2 seconds later, make them laugh. Because, I mean, and that's what the beauty of what we do is. I mean, so I'm happy again, and it's such a good creative. It's all the way down from how it's shot, the music, and the leadership of Ray on the film set. If he didn't make that place so beautiful to work with, none of that happens. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, you'll be very proud of the episode. Do you have any special plans to watch it?
You know what? As weird as this sounds, I never watch anything I do with people. For that reason, is you never know how it turns out. I always wait. And watch it myself. But I also kind of have a weird thing. Whenever I'm in something, it's hard for me to watch more of the season. It's kind of a weird. It's ruined the movie magic for me because I was part of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like now you know how the sausage is made, kind of. And you can't like see the show in that universe. You only know, okay, well, that was a backlot where I filmed this and that. Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah.
So people loved you in this episode. I'm sure. I know we did, and I'm sure the viewers will on Monday. What else can they look forward to seeing you in the near future?
Well, I've got a couple things coming out in the very, very near future. I haven't got the exact release date on Fox's Tubi. It's actually a comedy as well, even though I'm the bad guy in it. It's a movie called Classmates, directed by Danielle Fishel, who, if people watched Boy Meets World back in the day, she was Topanga. I think every kid my age's major crush when they were little. And her husband, Jensen Karp, wrote it. He writes for Sacha Baron Cohen and things like that. Really, really kind of fun comedy. It's got John Michael Higgins, if you know him, from Best in Show and all that. It's a kind of like a swap identity thing where two girls swap identities, and and I kidnap them both. So it's but yeah, so that's going to come out on Fox's Tubi, hopefully within the month. Okay. I've got a revolutionary movie called The Battle at Bushy Run. It's a true historical piece that I actually saw the screening of that at Fox. It's actually, whenever you get a historical piece and you add a love story to it, I always get nervous, but it was good. Now they're trying to shop a home for it. That should be coming out. And I just finished a serial killer independent movie called Serial Beauty, and the writing on that was spectacular. Don't know when that'll come out yet, but those are the three things in the near future that'll be coming out.
Awesome. I'm so very happy for you. You've been great to talk to. I had a really great time getting to know you. Even off camera, we had a great time. So I really appreciate you being on, Edward. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.